Welcome to Central News. I'm Hilary Entwistle. In today's news, Cocktails by Candlelight is Dress for Success Hamilton's major fundraising event of the year and is on this Thursday. The charity opened a Hamilton branch in 2002 and helps women get back into the workforce after taking time off when having children. Executive Manager of Dress for Success Hamilton, KM, says the money raised goes towards their programs that help women gain confidence and interviewing skills.
The money raised from Cocktails by Candlelight goes all towards Dress for Success and the programs that we run. So that's for the clothes that we put on women, and for our career centre, and for our PWG, our Professional Women's Group program.
A 5-year high in building consents for new houses has Bay Plenty builders optimistic work is beginning to return to the sector. Latest figures from Statistics New Zealand show the Bay of Plenty experienced a 73% jump in new building consents, climbing from 69 in March to 106 last month. Tauranga Association of Master Builders President Brian Foster says what the Bay of Plenty has experienced is partially due to the increase in Auckland and the Christchurch rebuild.
I think you've had a boost in building confidence and business confidence. People who have been holding off have decided they're going to jump in there. Right, let's do it.
Trout poachers, be warned, poacher cams will catch you in the act at any hour of the day or night. Eastern Fish and Game officers have seen a rise in the number of poaching incidents caught on hidden camouflage cameras being stationed at hotspots on some key spawning streams. Fish and Game Officer Anthony Van Dorp says they're investigating a string of incidents, but he's declining to give the details for operational reasons. Anthony says Rotorua's world-renowned trout fisheries are always more sensitive during spawning season, which is now well underway. But the taking of spawning trout can have a serious impact on future trout numbers. And poachers can trample on spawning beds, destroying eggs already laid in the stream and seriously impacting future trout stocks from wild spawning. 12 months on from the murder of Paeroa businessman Jordan Voudouris, a senior Waikato investigator is reminding public the case remains open and the key to unlocking the case remains in the community. The 55-year-old was killed in the early hours of June the 18th, 2012. His body was found behind his business, Makono's Pizza and Pasta restaurant in Belmont Road in Paeroa. Western Waikato Investigations Manager Detective Senior Sergeant Mike Whitehead says as the anniversary of Jordan's death approaches, investigators involved in the case naturally feel compassion for the family left behind by his murder. The 45th New Zealand National Agricultural Field Days closed its gates on Saturday after a fantastic 4 days of business and a massive 125,127 visitors attended the iconic event held at Mystery Creek every June. The Southern Hemisphere's largest agribusiness expo had 28,445 through the gates on its final day, with plenty of new products and technologies for visitors to discover throughout the 40 hectares of event space. New Zealand National Field Day CEO John Calder says it was a very positive wrap-up to a great event that had seen a large number of quality visitors attending exhibitors' sites. He says it was great to see such a large number of business making record sales and leads. He says the positivity is evident across our exhibitors and visitors, sends a strong signal that there is confidence and a buoyant mood across our agricultural and primary sector. Now for our region's weather. Hamilton, your Tuesday is looking wet, cloudy with showers and an expected high of 16 and an overnight low of 11. Tauranga for you, periods of sun and some showers. Your expected high is 17 and an overnight low of 11. Just ahead, ag research and grass that is resistant to black beetles. Welcome to Central News on TV Central. There is a lot of research going into new farming methods that is helping out the agricultural sector in New Zealand. Ag Research was at Field Days and we caught up with them there on their latest finds. Welcome along, Stephen. Now, tell us about this new rotisserie product that you're actually trialling here at Field Days.
This is some proof of concept research we're doing about finding value-added markets for dairy beef, which is cows that have been produced from milk who don't tend to produce the best steaks. So you're not going to take a steak from a dairy cow and sort of fry it up. So what this is, it's a product we've developed using all natural New Zealand herbs and spices, sort of like horopito, and it's sort of tenderized, and we rub it with the spices. We put it in effectively a food concrete mixer in a vacuum pack to really tenderize it, to mix it up, to get the spices in, and then it's cooked on a rotisserie, and it just creates this product which is tasty and tender, and it saves all the stuff which is good meat from being sort of minced and going into casserole steak. It creates a value-added product that processors and people in the trade can make a good profit from, and then that goes down to make dairy animals more profitable for farmers.
And how long until we can actually start to see this in our supermarkets?
At the moment, we're just looking at novel ways of tenderising things in a natural way, so not using any chemicals, just using natural processes and just the force. Basically, it's like bashing something with a hammer on a commercial stage. So at the moment, we're talking to people about it and showing the concept and showing it off at shows like this, just to get people's interest, and then the industry, if they're interested, can come and sort of start commercialising.
Tell us about this wool where you can dye it 2 colours.
Well, this is something that was developed a few years ago that we're commercialising. It's for the first time we've been able to dye wool garments 2 colours in one process. So before then they had to either, like your woolly jumper, it was different coloured wools that were knitted together, but now we can single dip dye these garments to create patterns, and this is a world first, and it's interesting. And so we're getting all the performance aspects of merino wool, but we can dye it in interesting patterns now and interesting colours, and it makes it more resilient to washing, and it doesn't have the horrible effect of having prints on the wool. So we can see a market for this in sort of high performance sportswear, and where you're wanting things to move and breathe, but you don't want prints on it, but you do want it to look quite cool as well. So this could actually revolutionise the market, and there's a company in Wellington that's sort of taking this idea out to the world now, and they've already got interest from a major American manufacturer of sportswear for some of the main chains, so it's quite exciting.
Now, Vicky, you're actually a scientist, so can you tell us about this grass that you guys have actually researched and is black beetle resistant?
Well, AgResearch has been doing a lot of research on ryegrass endophytes, which are fungi that live inside the ryegrass. So the natural sort of endophyte that we've had for a long time in our grasses can cause problems such as ryegrass staggers in cattle that are grazing it, cattle and sheep. So that's a neuromuscular problem, so they can end up falling over or just getting tremors and not doing too well, and possibly not producing as well on it as well. So the first endophyte we've looked at was AR1, so AgResearch has gone out and looked at natural populations of endophyte. They've inoculated this into ryegrass and grown this ryegrass, and they've found that it still has protection against most pasture pests that attack the ryegrass, but doesn't cause the health problems. But they've also found that in places like Waikato and sort of north of Taupo, where we get problems with black beetle, this endophyte wasn't so good for that. So then we found out that we've found another one called AR37, and this protects against the black beetle and other pests, as well as not causing animal health problems. So.
And is this being used commercially?
Yes, it's been commercially available for a number of years through different seed companies.
Are there particular areas that are worse off with black beetle?
It's not a problem in the South Island. Black beetle likes warmer temperatures, so the top of the North Island, sort of down to around Taupo, and then a bit further down each coast as well on the North Island.
Now tell us about the special grass used at airports.
Well, one of the problems at airports is bird strike in planes. So AgResearch has looked at another endophyte strain which deters the birds from feeding on the grass at airports, so that will keep the birds away a bit more so we don't get this problem so much.
And Stephen, tell us about the isotopic wool.
We've got a lot of the protecting New Zealand's branding is guaranteeing that the wool we are selling is, or the commercial people are selling, is actually 100% New Zealand wool. So we've developed a technology that what the sheep eats leaves an isotope signature in the wool. So the water it drinks and the grass it eats leaves a fingerprint that when you run it through a spectrometer we can get quite a clear indication of where in the world the wool comes from. So it means that say a carpet manufacturer can guarantee through testing that they are selling 100% New Zealand wool and get premium for that and offer the sort of quality guarantees that comes from some of the wool that's produced in this country.
So what is AgResearch?
AgResearch, we're the Crown Research Institute which does everything on the pastoral sector. So that's pasture to plate. We cover sort of grass research, animal performance, welfare, food and bio-based products. We've done everything, and some unexpected things like our wool research has helped develop a shampoo in Japan for older lady hair, which makes it shinier. So a lot of that was because keratin, the stuff that makes wool, is similar to human hair. The knowledge we've gained working with sheep has helped us develop other products as well. So we cover everything from farm gate to plate, but beyond that as well.
Visit agresearch.co.nz to find out about what their new finds are. Just ahead, lamb boning demonstrations at Field Days. Welcome back. Roasted with sprigs of rosemary, mint sauce or a chop on the barbie. However you like it, lamb is a New Zealand staple. Te Kuiti meat processors know what they are talking about when it comes to breaking down a lamb carcass, and I spoke with them at Field Days where they were doing demonstrations on site to find out about our lambing industry in New Zealand. So welcome to the show. Now let's talk about what you guys feed your lambs.
So our lambs are predominantly grass-fed. They might be fed a little bit of silage and a little bit of crop through the winter, but we don't feed our lambs grain. Our main, very important market is the States, and grass-fed lamb, although it's quite a normal thing for New Zealand farmers, is really important to them, and it's a big growth market over there. So they're used to eating grain-fed lamb, which is a bit blander, a lot more consistent, but it's not as strong as grass-fed.
And you guys don't use any antibiotics?
No, we don't use any antibiotics in our lamb that gets sent up to the States. It goes predominantly into the whole foods market, and they don't want any antibiotics in their product. They want it to be all grass-fed, no growth hormones or anything like that. So it's not organic lamb, but it is naturally produced lamb, sustainably produced lamb.
Why are more people wanting non-antibiotic meats?
It's really important for the market. They've decided that that's what's important to them. I guess health reasons.
Lamb, as we know, is a good source of iron. So what other stuff is in there that's good for us as well?
Lamb's really lean. It's not got much of a fat content, especially some of the cuts like your loins and your tenderloins. It's a really lean cut of meat. It's got in a whole lot of essential elements and vitamins.
Who's our biggest buyer of lamb?
The biggest buyer at this stage is probably really Europe, but our lamb is going globally. So our higher value cuts are making their way into countries like Switzerland and Germany and the States, and our medium level cuts are making their way into a lot of Asian countries like Japan, Taiwan, Korea, Spain, and then our lower value cuts are mainly making their way into China. So China is taking around a third of the carcass at the moment.
So why is China wanting those cheaper products?
That's what they can afford, and also labour is a lot cheaper over in China. So they'll take something like a neck and bone it out, or they'll take the flaps and they'll bone it out and make a bunch of different products out of it.
What are our most popular cuts in New Zealand?
I'd say probably the leg, some of the leg roasts, your traditional kind of leg roasts. If you go to a restaurant, you'd find something like a chump, which is the top of the leg, or it's the rump on a cattle beast. You'd find something like a chump if you ordered a lamb salad, or a loin if you ordered a lamb salad, or you might find a lamb rack. They're quite popular.
What are some of the countries that we are exporting our lamb to?
We're exporting all over the world, so that once the lamb's cut up, it's going to hundreds of destinations. It's going all over Europe, into the UK, into the Middle East. A lot of the Asian countries are taking it. China's taking a huge proportion, as I said. One place we don't export to is Australia because they have a lot of their own lamb. And then obviously we consume quite a bit in New Zealand as well.
So is our lamb better than Aussie?
We'd like to think so.
Why are you guys doing these demonstrations at field days?
It's mainly to show our farmers what we do with their lambs. So a lot of guys will put their lambs on the truck in the morning, and that's the last they see of it. And they might do their own home kills, and they probably take 4 roasts and a bunch of chops out, and that's it. So they come along here and see how we export it and the different cuts we get out of it, and yeah, it's really interesting for them.
And how are field days going so far?
Awesome. So we've had 3 demonstrations yesterday, and we had turnouts of about 100 people to our morning demonstration, our lunchtime demonstration, so it was really good.
So run us through what of the cuts are that we do get out of a lamb.
We're probably going to show about 20 different cuts. So there'll be your primal cuts. We'll take about 4 products out of the shoulder, and then we take out your French racks, tenderloins, loins. We can show several different specifications depending on what our supermarket or our customer requires. And then we'll show a leg roast, and then we'll turn that leg into about 4 different products as well and bone it right out.
What are some of the products, those cheaper products that you mentioned earlier that China is buying, and what are they making with these cheaper products?
So China's taking a whole range of products, from things like flaps and briskets. They're also taking a lot of the offals, like the livers, kidneys, tail stubs, pizzles, testes. So they really take a whole range of the lower end value products. And they'll further process a lot of these products, like for example the flaps. They'll take all the bone out, they'll layer it with some fat that they take from us, just pure fat. So you layer of meat, a layer of fat, do that about 7 layers high and slice that really thinly. Another thing they do is they'll take the flap and they'll bone it out, and then they'll take all the meat they take from our necks, pop it inside and create a protein log, slice it up nice and thinly. They take things like the knuckle tips, and they'll be putting those into their stock pots and soups, boiling it all up. So yeah, they take a whole range of those products, and every year the Chinese kind of average levels of incomes are increasing, so every year they're able to take another product.
So what are some good ways that we should cook our New Zealand lamb?
I guess it all depends on what cut you take. If you're taking a cut from the middle of the lamb, like your racks or your loins, you want to cook them really quickly. So something like a boneless loin, you want to cook it on a hot pan for maybe 2 minutes each side. And then it's really important to rest lamb. So if you rest it for probably about as long as you cook it, and then that just lets all the blood relax and the meat will be a lot more tender than if you ate it straight away. And then a product off the shoulder, you want to cook a lot longer. So the shoulder's got a lot of connective sinew and tissue running through it, and you need to cook it long and slow, just to get all that tissue to kind of melt down and break down, so that when you eat the meat it's all tender and nice and ready to go. Then something like the meat, the leg on the meat on the leg. If you have a whole leg, you might roast it, or quite often we'll do something like take all the bone out, tunnel bone it, and butterfly it, pop it on the barbecue for 20 minutes on each side. It'll be nice and rare in the middle and a little bit more well done at the edges, so there'll be something for everyone.
Oh, well, thank you very much, and all the best for the field day.
Cool, thank you.
Coming up next, a way to keep your bees. If you've just joined us, welcome to Central News. The Innovation Centre at Field Days is where people showcase their inventions, and we spoke with the Launch New Zealand Award winner. So Grant, tell us about your invention.
What I have is a mobile honey harvester. It's a new system that enables all beekeepers to harvest their honey quickly, cleanly and affordably.
What are the benefits of the product?
Well, compared to the traditional system where boxes are taken off hives and taken back to the factory and put in hot rooms and gone through the traditional extraction process, this enables beekeepers to harvest their honey on site right next to the hive.
How does this affect the final product of honey?
Well, the final product is very clean because I use a plastic frame, and the machine takes away the wax in the bulk honey, and it's left with a sticky frame. So it gives the bees the opportunity to draw out new wax, so a new foundation every time, which is a very, very clean system.
And tell us about how clean your product is.
My product's very, very clean. The fact that I'm harvesting on site and the product's sealed in a food grade bucket and then it's transported back to the factory for the extraction side of it, and it's all done within the same day. The product is superior.
You mentioned you are a beekeeper, so you're out beekeeping. What gave you the idea to create this?
Doing it the traditional system is very, very hard. Lifting boxes is very heavy, it's very time consuming, and a lot of equipment is very expensive to set up. So I needed a system that was cheap and it was quick and it produced a very fine product. So that's why I came out with the mobile honey harvester.
Why has beekeeping become quite popular recently?
It has become very popular. There's been some good prices for honey, and there's been a lot of awareness for bees and the pollination and the positive impact bees have on our environment.
So tell us about how the actual process that you went through when you were kind of creating this product.
There's a lot of trial and error, getting the right system, getting sizes, dimensions right, trying to keep the bees out, and basically a lot of welding and a lot of engineering to come up with the right machine for the job.
And they announced the award. How did you feel?
I was quite surprised actually. There's some really good entries here, and there's a lot of competitors, so yeah, I was pretty excited though.
How has business been?
Business is good. It's a new concept, so we're trying to explain it to the beekeepers, and the beekeepers that understand get it, and we're getting a very, very good response.
So why do you reckon you won?
The system's not only great for beekeepers, but it's great for the country. It enables beekeepers to run more hives, therefore there's going to be more pollination, which we all know is a good thing. So it's not just great for beekeepers, it helps everything, and it also makes there's going to be a lot more honey available, which is also great for the country.
So run us through how the actual product works.
Okay, so basically the machine is placed on a bucket next to a hive, and the frames are removed and the bees are shooken off in front of the hive, and the frame is processed through the harvester and then returned back in a very quick time.
And at the end of field days, where to from here?
Well, being a new product, I'd really like to get it overseas also. It's got a lot of potential in a lot of countries, and I really think they can all benefit from it. So I might be looking for some help to actually promote it overseas. So
there has been a lot of recent media attention around diseases with bees and that kind of thing. So can you explain what that disease is and how you reckon your product would help that?
Well, basically, with the old system, wooden frames, the diseases are held within the wax itself. So insecticides, pesticides, and foul brood spores are held in there. So the traditional system, the wax is not removed, so therefore we're not getting rid of any disease. So with my system, every time I harvest a frame, I remove the entire content, and then they get a fresh drawing free from disease.
To find out about this product and any of the other inventions, visit fielddays.co.nz/innovation competition 2013. That is the news for today. We really want you to be involved, so like us on Facebook and let us know your views. If you have news including your own video and photos, go to our website and hit upload. Thanks for joining us. I'll be back tomorrow night with more guests from in and around the regions. I'm Hilary Entwistle. Have a lovely evening.
This has been an Alpha Media production, a division of Television Media Group.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.